Good afternoon, judges and my fellow designers. And today, I will be presenting my project titled Urban Tarzan. And this project actually seeks to challenge the high-rise development in our urban cities. So, in 2010, the United Nations actually released a report that said that 754 million of Asia-Pacific people actually live in urban cities. And this number is only set to increase by another 1.1 billion within the next 2 decades. And the risk of rapid urbanization includes the increase of urban density, reduction of public spaces, increase of use of energy and resources, and catalyzes climate change. However, this also poses a scenario for us where us as future architects can redefine our future urbanscapes. So, in Singapore, the effects of rapid urbanization is actually very prominent. And this project actually opposed the increasingly hostile urban environment of downtown Singapore, where transactions and works actually dominates as the anchor programs of our city landscapes. So usually, how people design a tower is for dollar cost efficiency, they actually maximize all the floor plates, which results in a very homogeneous and non-relational situation, and a hostile facade that causes hostile ecological impacts and a lack of public zones. So, my project, titled Urban Tarzan, actually attempts to break the monopoly of the concrete jungle and display the heroic returns of wilderness and fun in the city. So, for context, my project is actually located in a cultural/commercial district of around the size of 124 meters square, which is a size of 1.5 badminton court. So, it's technically less than the size of half of this room. And the project is actually to build a 64-meter towers. So, my project, Urban Tarzan, also challenges the park typology, which is usually on the ground floor and is a flat ground, into a vertical setting where we can reimagine park experiences in vertical setting where we can bring in wilderness, bionomics, and freshness into the urbanscapes. So, what actually constitutes to design a nature park? So, I actually did a case study of one of Singapore's nature parks, and I summarized into 3 key categories, which is the ecological system, climate response, as well as trail creation. So, Urban Tarzan is actually generated through this computation generation program called discrete aggregation, and this allows the element to be generated in a bottom-up, peer-to-peer correlational method where it actually emulates nature in a constructive manner. The 4 key parameters that were used was the initiation coordinates, the modes of joinery, the modules, as well as the density. So, there were many iterations that were generated, and this was the final 14 that was actually shortlisted. And the final design, the final iteration that was chosen was chosen because of its the spatial provision, structural efficiency, and the emulation of nature. So once the form is actually decided, I went through this iterative constant feedback loop of process where I turned the form into a structure into space with circulation, and a program. So every time a single change is made, it actually goes back right to the start to ensure that this entire flow of design process actually develops throughout. So this turns columns, which seems to just so be a structural element, into a device of spatial experience and a system of ecology. So a 1:15 model was also actually made to actually test the physics and practicality of the building to see if this actually stands. So when I was building this model, I actually had a lot of difficulty because every single time I tried to put in something or glue something, the whole thing might actually just topple over. So this whole process of making this model actually took more than 2 weeks. So in summary, these seven diagrams actually shows the design design stages where the computation generation actually informs the structural design. The iterated structure becomes the topography, and unlike a real park, the topography actually informs the organization and movement of the routes, and this actually influences the designation of the habitat zones and the construct of the service systems. So, the manifestation of a structure-only system actually results in a very porous and unpredictable outlook of the building, where the inconsistency of the structural elements actually negotiates and shapes the creation of architectural experiences. So, through these 2 animations that you can see here, so every single card that you see shows how versatile the product is, and actually, there is actually no consistent floor plates. So, Urban Tarzan opposes the norm of the typical office tower, resulting in an open facade, externalized relationship, as well as minimizing site impacts. So a few analyses and studies were also conducted, such as the volumetric climate study, where the volume of the site is actually broken down into 1 meter square cells each to understand, where are the better spaces put in functions of programs. And circulation typologies and vintage points, it was also studied to understand how we can curate the spaces within urban Tarzan. Singapore also has a lot of migratory birds that actually transit through the city throughout different seasons. And most of us, we do not know is that actually there are actually a lot of birds collision in our downtown city because of the hostile facade, because of glass facade, the birds can't tell where they are flying, and sometimes you'll just see dead birds just lying on the floor. So this actually gives me an inspiration of actually creating this oasis for them. So birds and insect attracting plants was also studied and selected, where this initiates and catalyzes an ecological system in hope that urban Tarzan can actually become a respite for them. So in summary, the urban Tarzan has 3 key realms, which is 1, the nature park, 2, as a public space, and 3, as a garden nursery. And combining all 3 together, this actually attempts to form a circular ecological network where the different functions actually complement and supplement each other to create this human-nature symbiosis. So, in terms of floor plans, you can actually tell that there are no typical floor plans where the circulation path actually dances around the columns and beams, and the floor plates are actually fragmented all throughout. So, after I actually place the rod of movement inside the building, I actually unrolled them like the map where you see when you go for a hike, and it forms this diagram over here. And here you can actually tell the different typologies of spaces that you can experience throughout your whole route. Not only that, the lift that actually goes out actually appears in different parts of the park. So every time when you visit urban Tarzan, you can actually start somewhere new. In a 3-dimensional sense, the urban Tarzan actually emulates the nature from forest ground, canopy and story, and emergent level. Human activities are located usually on the ground, on the lower part of the floor due to noise consideration, and the upper part of the building focuses more on creating a safe haven for other species. Urban Tarzan is constructed through a kits of parts system, and the key goal is to actually minimize embodied carbon and to maximize maintainability. Hence, most of the components works in a modular system, and I summarize these three components, where number 1, which is the use of composite timber coming in the size of around 8 meters and 6 meters, so that for the ease of delivery. So when they are actually bonded together with the steel plates, it created this type of roof where it allows other components such as the rails, the railings, and the planter box to actually be slide in like a rail system for placement, and also can be removed or swapped for maintenance or reorganization. So every 10 years or so, when a developer actually wants to refresh the experience, they actually can just swap the materials, swap the components out to create this refresh experience. Not only that, there were also different rainwater harvesting pods that's being placed all around the columns, so that this creates a decentralized service system where rainwater can actually serve and becomes the irrigation system for the plants, and this works through gravity without the need for any pumps. So, urban Tarzan uses different shades of nature tones to actually bring respite and tranquility to the city. This actually opposes the surrounding sites where most of the concrete jungle comes in the dark colors, gray colors, or just glass. This actually allows urban Tarzan to bring comfort and balance to the totality of the urban scapes. Bright color slides are also evokes emotions of excitement and joy. Urban Tarzan is a very porous building, and this actually allows the climate, sun, to actually penetrate deep into the building, where it also allows birds and species to actually fly through the building without to minimize collision. Furthermore, here you also can witness how the circulation path actually dances around the beams and columns to actually detours and slow down people as they move us through up or down the urban Tarzan. Slides in urban Tarzan actually works like a teleportation device. So every time when you go to a park or nature park, you have a destination you want to go, but you have to physically walk there for like 10 to 30 minutes. But here in urban Tarzan, because of the verticality, you can go into the slides, and within 10 seconds, you will have a refreshed experience in somewhere new. And not only that, the planters and seeds are actually integrated with the railing system to allow users to take charge of the nursery, as well as allow users to rest when they need to. Urban Tarzan is located in a leftover side of around 1.5 badminton court, And this site is actually too small to actually be of any commercial value. You can't build a shopping center within just such a small area. So here, what I actually attempted to do was to rejuvenate the site for the community and also to bring nature closer to home. And in the sky, it also acts as a respite for the birds in the concrete jungle. Views and activity nodes were also generated for wellness activities around the concrete tower, where users can actually use the space while seeing the skyline of Singapore. And these two are actually my favorite renderings from this project, where number one, you can actually see the verticality of the building, where there is no encompassed ceiling at the top, just like nature, you don't see a ceiling while you go for a walk outside, and it casually just grains out and blurs out in the skies. The floor also works in a grill system where it allows people to experience like a walk in the sky. And due to the density and the verticality of the building, Urban Tarzan acts as an acupuncture of climate filters in the urban city to target the urban heat island effect. So here you can actually see users walking into the building, walking into the tower. And the human activities here are on the ground floor. On the left, you can see the amphitheater, and the lift on the right. And you can see that Urban Tarzan actually grows up from the root high up to the sky. And here you will see this video of how it feels like when you take the lift up to the entire building. And you can see that things changes almost every second. The walk inside the park, some of the nursery shots, and the slides. And plants are actually created based on the circulation path. And the city out to the sky. I mean the view out to the city. The high unencompassing ceiling. And the top layer, which is a lot denser to actually create this oasis for the species. And also finally, the front elevation of Urban Tarzan. So, in conclusion, with respect to this year's theme, Urban Tarzan seeks to revitalize leftover sites, bring people, architecture, and natural ecology together and to live in a symbiosis manner, and also to bring nature closer to home. Urban Tarzan hopes to propagate a proposal to inspire a paradigm shift in the attitudes and the methodology towards high-dense development and commercialism, in hope that in future, Singapore will be able to see high-rise development as more than a product of commercialism. Thank you.